everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I'm going to do the Invisible Cities announcement for November. I will leave all of the relevant information about the Invisible Cities project in the description below in case you are new to it. But the two countries we have selected for the month of November this year is Bolivia and Angola. So like I always do, I'll talk about some of the books that I have my eye on for these two countries. I think the most translated author from Angola that I know of is José Eduardo Agualusa, or at least that is the name that comes up a lot and that I definitely recognize, and I have wanted to read General Theory of Oblivion for a while now, and so I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to get to it. And I think, if I remember correctly, I own the ebook of this. It is about a protagonist who has agoraphobia, I think. On the eve of the Angolan independence, Ludo bricks herself into her apartment, where she will remain for the next 30 years. She lives off vegetables and pigeons, burns her furniture and books to stay alive, and keep herself busy by writing her story on the walls of her home, until one day she meets Sabalu, a young boy from the streets. So I think this was nominated for the Man Booker a few years ago as well. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in this one and have been for a while. And this was translated by Daniel Hahn. I have some other options for Angola that are in Swedish translation. So one of them is poetry by the female poet called Alda Laura. Her poetry is included in a Swedish anthology of Angolan lyricism and poetry. And so I thought I might sample this poetry collection in its full if I can get hold of it, or just read her poem in this collection. But I was looking for female writers of Angola, and her name was one of the ones that came up. The anthology is called I fikonträdets skugga, and is translated by Arne Lundgren, or at least the poem that I'm referring to by Alda Lara is translated by Arne Lundgren. I have several books that I would love to read for Bolivia. The first one is Pyrotechnics, a spineless essay of altruist literature by Hilda Mundi, and this was translated by Jessica Sequeira. Over the course of 70 prose poems, inspired by everything from magazine pop culture to high art, Mundi captures the noise of the metropolis, the effects of transformation in technology, the changes in sensibility and behavior she sees in her contemporaries, and the new professional aspirations of women. So this sounds really interesting, and it's published by a publisher I'd never heard of called We Hear You Like Books. I've mentioned before that I'm always trying to read more poetry and try new things out to find what I like. And this one sounds like it could be very interesting, especially with the technology aspect of it. The other option I have is called Horses Drawn with Blue Chalk by Rocio Agreda Pierola, and translated by the same translator Jessica Sequeira. In Horses Drawn with Blue Chalk, Agreda Pierola senses language is populated by animals, parts of the body, and the physical stuff of childhood. The questions here of how to create meaning from language, solitude, and silence do not rely on any facile pre-made identities or autobiographical intimacies, but seek constantly to unsettle the known, questioning given truths to forge a meaningful communication. It's like 48 pages. It's a very brief book, but it sounds interesting. The last of my options for Bolivia is Our Dead World by Liliana Colanzi, and this was translated by the same translators. I guess this is a translator who's very prolific for Bolivian literature. But the description of this is probably the one that I'm most keen to get. It is a young woman suffers a mental breakdown because of her repressive and religious mother. A group of children is fascinated by the sudden death of a friend. A drug trafficking couple visits Paris at the same time as a psychopathic cannibal. A mysterious wave travels through a university campus, driving students to suicide. A photographer witnesses a family's surface composure shatter during a portrait session. A worker on Mars sees ghostly animals in the desert and longs for an impossible return to Earth. A plastic surgeon botches an operation and hides on a sugarcane plantation where indigenous slavery is practiced. So this is basically a short story collection with elements of horror and magical realism, which is my favorite type of short story. And in particular, I feel like Latin American writing with horror elements fits my taste very well, and I'm in particular keen to read more Latin American women writers, which so far the ones I've read I really enjoyed. Those are the books that I am potentially reading for November for Invisible Cities. I would love to know if you've read anything from these two countries, if you have anything to recommend me, if you've read any of the books I mentioned today, if you have any thoughts and plans for yourself. I would love to chat with you in the comments. I hope you're all doing really well, and I'll talk to you soon.